Last season, I told you the Polaris RZR 570 was one of my favorite side-by-side rides. That was a true statement. However, on this week's test ride, I've got an update on that proclamation. It's the new RZR 570 LE with electronic power steering and Polaris engine braking system. So why would a less than hyper-powerful side-by-side work its way into my heart to the degree last year's all-new RZR 570 did? It's about fun. The kind of fun you could previously only experience on an ATV. So, could Polaris's RZR 570 LE be the first crossover side-by-side? Here's the deal. With the 50-inch wide RZR 570, it fits almost anywhere. It'll fit in your pickup box, it'll fit in your trailer, and most importantly, it'll fit on your trails. This is a big deal as far as we're concerned at Dirt Trax TV and Dirt Trax magazine. Being able to ride safely in complete control on two-track ATV trails puts the 570 in a whole nother league. What league, you might ask? This side-by-side can go anywhere an ATV can. Now that's versatility. Okay, so there's other side-by-sides that'll fit on ATV trails. However, the RZR 570 is among the first sport side-by-sides that come 50 inches wide. That means the 570 not only fits on ATV trails, it'll rip those same trails with its great suspension, handling, and impressive power. You've got to see the look on the faces of ATV riders when they realize a full-on side-by-side is running them down. Sure, dune riders know how capable side-by-sides can be, but make no mistake about this. There's a big difference between ripping up a motocross track or diving into a bowl compared to carving a twisty deep woods trail on a side-by-side. Up until the arrival of the RZR 570, it just wasn't possible to ride a pure sport side-by-side on tight ATV trails. Inasmuch as we loved last year's first edition of the RZR 570, we did find ourselves wishing for the availability of EPS, maybe more than we've ever wished for it before. Why? Because threading your way through tight, twisty, deep woods ATV trails with a side-by-side requires lots of sawing at the wheel. In this application, EPS rocks. Another trail-friendly feature on the new RZR 570 LE is its first ever side-by-side use of Polaris's engine braking system. EBS makes it way easier to go fast on tight trails with elevation changes. Simply put, you don't need to jump on the brakes half as much as you would without EBS. Seems to us that sports side-by-sides are all about fun. Fun for more than one. It's pretty clear Polaris has nailed that reality with the RZR 570. We suspect the 570 is going to sell to a ton of ATV buyers who want to enjoy 50-inch trails with a passenger but don't want a two-up ATV. In fact, we'll go way out on a limb here and say this: it's more fun ripping tight trails in a 570 RZR with a passenger than riding two-up on an ATV. Paradigm shift? Maybe. We haven't talked much tech on this test ride. How come? Because we believe the RZR 570 is more than the sum of its parts. In more eclectic terms, it's a synergistic vehicle. Here's what we mean. The RZR 570 could be powered by a flux capacitor, and it wouldn't make it any less fun. That's what we're saying. This side-by-side is just way too much fun. If you're ready for a totally new off-road experience, specifically the ability to navigate tight trails at speed while seated in a side-by-side, then there's only one vehicle that'll provide impressive enough tight trail performance and enough power to keep you interested when you're back in the wide open spaces. This 50-inch wide 570 RZR LE with EPS, EBS, custom aluminum wheels, and automotive painted plastic will change the way you do off-road riding. If you think we're nuts, then you better try a RZR 570 and find out why this side-by-side is changing the rules.